There have been many games over the years that people have considered masterpieces. Mario 64, Halo, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Last of Us, Portal 2, Half-Life, all of these games, but there's one sleeping giant amongst them all. Bookworm Adventures. Now, many of you might not even know or even heard about Bookworm Adventures. You must be enlightened on one of the best games ever to be made. Bookworm Adventures was one of Konami's first ever video games to ever be made, and it flew off the shelves. For many, it was an instant hit, an instant classic. There was just so much to love about this game. The cute little avatar of the worm, it's such a great looking worm. They just did such a good job on the worm. You could really just sit here and just stare at the worm. I mean, the worm really does all the talking in the game. There are the little enemies, you know, which is another incredible part about the game, is the enemy designs, which are just spectacular. You know, all these big budget games, Destiny 2, World of Warcraft, all these games, they have all these different enemies, but Bookworm Adventures, there was something different, something special about the enemies in this game. It's just incredible. The art team on this game they really crushed it. You know, gameplay. That's the most important part of any game. What's a game without its gameplay? And the gameplay for Bookworm Adventures is spectacular. The gameplay is like if you combine Mario 64 with Tetris, and then you put a little bit of Red Dead Redemption 2 on top, and then you get Bookworm Adventures. That's how good this game is. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. There's so many awesome words you can spell in Bookworm Adventures. There's words you didn't even know existed that you can spell in Bookworm Adventures. And it's just incredible. It's hard for me to sit here in this chair and explain to you guys how awesome this game is without just, man, I'm just so excited to be able to share the world how great this game is. But, okay, so back to the game, you know. You play as this little worm guy. His name is the man with no name. It's super ominous, so cool. I love how they did that, make it shrouded in a little bit of mystery so you don't actually know, like, who's the worm? What does the worm do? You gotta figure it out as you go along. It's just really cool. And then the enemies, you fight the Greek and Roman gods, and it's like the mythology, and there's just like so much. Like I already talked about the enemy design, but we can go back there. That's just how good the enemy design is. And just the different attacks they have. You gotta plan around it. There's also a ton of strategy in this game. Like, what words am I gonna use? Am I gonna use this item for this fight? Like, ooh, man. I'm getting ahead of myself, but yes, there is a lot of strategy here. A lot of gameplay. Okay, well, gonna head back to the gameplay here. You know, there is a ton of stuff to do in this game. There's so many different fights you can do, so many different levels. There's at least 3,000 enemies in this game, 3,000 fights you can do. There's also one big thing I forgot to mention is the boss battles, man. You know, some games, maybe the boss battles aren't that good. You know, Dark Souls, they kind of pride themselves on their little bosses or whatever, but Bookworm Adventures, man, these bosses are incredible. Elden Ring has nothing on these bosses. It's some of the best boss design you'll ever see in a video game. You gotta strategize your way around these bosses. Use your words correctly. Just make sure you have a dictionary right next to you so you can plan out every word you're gonna use. You just gotta write them down, you know. Make sure you use the biggest words possible, because the bigger the word, the more damage it does. So you always want to be on the edge when you play this game. It's really intense as well. There's really never a moment of like calm in this game. It's always just straight gameplay. There is no fat on this game. It is only lean meat. There is no fat on this game. It's one of the greatest games ever made, an underrated masterpiece. People need to be talking about this game more. I'm here to try and revive it, bring it back, let everybody know about how great Bookworm is. Bookworm, he's just, man, okay, I gotta go back to Bookworm. Just look at this guy. Just look at Bookworm, man. He's just standing there. He really can't stand. He's like scrunched up with his little worm body. Man, it's just great. It's just great. It's awesome. You know, there is still a small community of Bookworm enjoyers. They are out there churning out fan art and their own fan fiction for this great franchise. Yes, it is a franchise. There are multiple Bookworm games. So yes, there is other masterpieces, but really it's hard to like compare each other because they're all so different in the strategy. You have to use all the different words. The new DLC in each game is just, whew, it's really good. And now I think since we've kind of talked about the overall structure and everything of this game, let's dive a little bit into the story, you know. Yeah, I talked about the story earlier about like the worm, like what's his background and everything, but the story, the journey you go on with this worm, it's something you just can't find in film nowadays. Like, you know, people always talking about, oh, I want to go see the newest Marvel movie. How about let's go see this movie? No, Bookworm has the story you need. Bookworm is the greatest story ever told. It's not just a great game, it's an emotional roller coaster. It will bring you to tears, it will give you joy. It is just, don't even get me started on the ending. So far, I have done no spoilers, so all you guys can go out there and play Bookworm. I will just, a little bit of the ending, let me just say, it is incredible. It will leave you in tears, it'll leave you in shock. You won't believe what'll happen. It's wow, it's just a wow moment. You won't even be able to talk. That's how great the ending is. The friends you make along the way, all the characters you meet, and just Bookworm, the man with no name, he's just the worm, man. But really, there's more to that. It's kind of like a symbolic message to send the audience. What does life really mean? Is this worm a symbolic image of what life is really like? It's just so many levels to this, so many levels to the Bookworm adventure. There's just stuff you don't understand. There's so much lore to the Bookworm. It's just, man, I could sit here and talk for hours about how incredible Bookworm is, but I think I have shown enough to you guys about the greatness of Bookworm. And you've really all heard it. You all know how great Bookworm is, and you're all gonna go out there, buy a Bookworm, and go out there, search for the Bookworm. Make sure you find it. Get that Bookworm Adventures in your hand and play it to the end of time, because that's how much gameplay there is for this game. That's how long you'll be playing it. I think it's time we wrap up this explanation of why Bookworm Adventures is a masterpiece. Underrated masterpiece, as the title says. So, yeah, you guys, there it is. So, hope you guys all go out there and try it and become a Bookworm enjoyer like me. And, yep. Goodbye, you guys. Goodbye.